Good morning and happy Monday from How to Be a Movie Snob. This is Seth, and today we're doing something a little different. We are going to re-release the Studio Ghibli classic, Spirited Away, which we recorded last year. If you don't know, this year Studio Ghibli has been coming to theaters for the first time ever in the United States. So this week is the last week of the tour, and you can see this movie in theaters this weekend. So do yourself a treat and go check out this movies in the movie theaters and listen to this podcast and take one more step to becoming a movie snob. I actually got to go take my daughter. Her first movie she ever saw was My Neighbor Totoro at the local theater because that's when they first released it. And it was one of my favorite memories I had. Just kind of sharing this little cinema history of a character which she loves because of some of the books she reads in the big screen, which is the first time she got to see a theater, and is also the first time I got to see anything from that studio in the theater. So anyways, do yourself a treat, check out this movie, and listen to the podcast. Here we go.
It's alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
I love you.
I know.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Be a Movie Snob. Here with the lovely Mariah.
Hello.
And come to us live from over the Columbia River.
And
to
then
the north,
some.
And then,
Whatever's over there.
Then up the I-5 a little further, Mr. Patrick.
Hello.
Hello, Pat.
Hi, Mr. Patrick.
Pleasure. Hi. Yeah, hi,
This
Seth.
is a rare day where the sun shone in the northwest, so we are all red and we are all
Yes,
exhausted.
I do have a bit of a farmer's tan starting up.
Yep.
Oh,
Good.
the farmers would be proud of what I got going on.
Yeah.
It is.
The heat hasn't completely worked out of my skin yet, so I don't know which is burn and which is just heat stroke.
Yeah, you
We'll
look.
find out later.
You look like you're going to be in pain. I'm not going to lie. It
Yeah.
looks like it's going to be bad. This week, we are talking about an amazing, arguably the best of all time, animated feature.
Ooh.
The best of all time. We'll talk about whether or not we agree with that or not. but it's-
Arguably. We can argue about it.
For sure. But it definitely is on every animated list's top 10, almost without question. The movie is, Pat, I'm going to give it to, and just for the record, we have an expert this week because we actually have someone who gets paid to animate things in the group.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's right.
that you?
Pat is our animator who actually has animated, not movies, not any movies that I'm aware of. Have you?
Much to your mother's dismay all these years.
Keep waiting for that. But has animated some very and terrible and wonderful video games, from what I recall from your CV.
Accurate.
Yes.
Yeah. All accurate.
So, Pat, we're going to probably lean on you a lot this week. Just a little heads up.
Okay. I'll crumble under the pressure. But
Yeah.
yes, we watched Miyazaki's Spirited Away.
Amazing.
Academy Award winning.
Academy Award winning and immediately loved by everybody.
Well, actually, I guess to get to an immediate question, I assume you watched what is the more commonly available version, which is the English language version. Yes?
That's what I did.
I did, but I was also wondering if I missed part of the movie because of the Englishness. of it.
So, yeah, and we can maybe get into that more. But what's interesting is, there's actually a separate director writing because it's not word for word translated.
No.
Like a lot of things.
It can't
It
be.
was meant to be translated to get the gist and then Americanize it. And they also wrote the lines to match the dialogue, the animated dialogue, as close as they could. So unlike, how we'd all kind of make fun of dub stuff in the olden times, which is mouth move and then the line happens way after, they tried to match it as close as they could. Which actually was weirdly Hayao Miyazaki did it as well. They'd animate the characters and then have the voice actors act to that, which is insane to me.
Wow.
Like in American movies, it's always the opposite.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
So I don't know.
A lot
Don't
easier
hold
for
me to
the
that.
animators, though.
A lot easier for the animators.
I mean, kind of, but what do you then maybe they dub it in themselves first, because how to talk a little inside baseball,
Hey.
normally when you be working on a 2D animated film, for sure, you'd have dialogue and you'd write in on what we used to call like X sheets, which is basically like the frame count for the animation, and they'd say on this frame is this syllable or this mouth shape. And so, but they'd know all that based off timing of the recorded dialogue.
Right.
And so they'd know exactly how long a thing takes. If you don't have recorded dialogue to work from, you're making it up. And so it's going to be more like some animator goes, how long does it take me to say these words? And then they animate it. It just kind of feels insane to me. But
That's crazy.
in a weird way, the English language version and the original were done the same way, which is odd.
That makes it kind of more legit. That makes the English version feel less. Doesn't make it feel like a lesser movie, if that makes sense.
No, I mean, it was sort of just like a weirdly this reinterpretation. And also they had to put in stuff there. There's a lot of ADR moments like, oh, it's a bathhouse, because we can't look at that building and go, oh, that's a bathhouse, clearly, because we know bathhouses.
I was wondering how many, like, the dialogue, we should have counted all the time there's dialogue when they're looking at like something else. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, I think they
probably
shoved in a ton of that in this movie.
Oh, it's an
There's
abandoned
some John
amusement
Ratzenberger
park.
lines. Yes.
like the line about the
Anytime
amusement
someone's
park
back was
in the
turned.
90s, I was like, maybe that's legit. But then I was thinking, this movie was barely not in the 90s. How, like, I was wondering if that was like the actual, like, did they change the date depending on when it was released? Because the English version was done later. Like, was it the?
Not
was
a
it-
lot later.
Huh? That's crazy. I was like, because when was this film released? I looked it up.
2001.
Yeah, 2001, and they literally said, "Oh, this is like an amusement park," because there's a bunch of them abandoned in the 90s. I'm like, it's 2001, meaning the 90s. That's
Way
2 years
back
ago.
in the 90s.
You know, like, so I was like, maybe in the Japanese version, it's the 80s.
And, I assume it's one of those post-recession kind of things, right? Like,
That's
look
true.
at all these business parks that built up and now no one's in them. That happened over a couple years, right, for us.
It's happening
So,
right now.
I guess it could be a thing. But also when they talk about amusement park, what that is to me is very different. That looked like there was a restaurant area and a bathhouse.
Yeah.
I wouldn't describe that as an amusement park. Anyways,
Yeah.
do we get into what this movie is? I'd love to hear Mariah
should get into
explain
that
the
because
plot.
the amusement park thing I'll talk about, because China, there's some, like, I think it's halfway in between, because China is usually like a cheaper version. But yeah, let's talk about this plot, Mariah, because I'd love to hear how you're going to explain
Oh,
this.
man.
This is going to be a good one.
I wish Pat would have kept going on this. Woo!
Time to summarize.
Summarize.
Some
Oh.
Mariah's.
In your Mariah eyes.
10-year-old.
Oh, come on now.
Can I
Jeez.
read it?
Okay, read what it is.
This
and then Pat and I
young
take
girl, Chihiro,
over. Chihiro.
10 years
So-
old, is on her way to her new house in a new location, and she is bummed out about it.
That opening scene, the opening shot was perfect.
Yeah.
I just can't. I know I shouldn't get it right, but it was just so interesting immediately, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is already one of the most fascinating animations I've ever seen, just by like the first shot. I was like, holy crap. Okay, sorry.
It's good.
It's good. Sorry.
It's good. Her parents are, trying to paint a better picture. She's got a bad attitude, and they take a wrong turn and go up some road.
No, he's exploring. Oh no, they do take a wrong turn.
They take a
first.
wrong turn.
That's
He's
right.
like, well, let's keep doing it.
I like this dad.
It's got to go through.
This might be a shortcut.
Yeah.
I like this guy.
And he stops short of a tunnel and gets out. And like any responsible parents, they say, let's just walk into this dark tunnel. And the girl's saying,
No
no,
beef-
no, no, no.
No beef with his dad, by the way. I am totally for what
Yeah.
this dad's doing.
Seth and I had this
I could see
conversation
Seth
too.
doing
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, I like this dad.
Yeah. Throwing caution to the wind. Let's explore. Let's go down
Live
the
life,
dark,
kids. Don't
dark
just play
tunnel.
video games the whole time.
Yeah.
And they're
Jeez.
willing to leave her too. It wasn't.
Sure. Come or go,
It
whatever.
was a loose threat.
Yeah.
It was. We all do it to our kids. Come on.
Well, she was 10. She could have waited at the car.
yeah, she
It
probably
would have
could
been
work.
fine.
She could drive.
But so they go through and come upon a quote unquote abandoned amusement park.
Which we find out. Thanks. To the
Wander
lovely-
around, smell some food. Parents sit down at the one open restaurant that no one's working at and start stuffing their faces.
Yeah, they were real
Pigging
hungry.
out, if you will.
Ooh, ah.
Ooh.
Suddenly, they are pigs.
No, literally, they turn into pigs. In case
They
the listener
really
doesn't know
have
what's going on, they
become
literally become
Pigs.
rather large bovine.
Yes. Chihiro
Yeah. and at the
freaks
same
out.
time-
She
One,
doesn't know that they're her parents yet, though.
no, but freaks out.
Well, you
Oh,
kind of missed.
yeah.
So
She
while
doesn't
they were
eat-
starting to eat, she had wandered off and found what everyone knows is a bathhouse by looking at it.
Yes.
And came across another boy who was
Also-
like, "You
yes.
got to get out of here."
Right.
Also, she didn't eat any of the food. We should point that out.
No, she didn't eat anything. She wasn't hungry. He's like, "You got to get out of here. You got to get across the water before dark."
Yeah.
And so she runs away, but of course she doesn't get away before dark, and then discovers two pigs where her parents were sitting in their clothes.
Oh yeah.
Still wasn't sure what happened there. Anyway, on and on. We realize she's stuck. Her parents have turned to pigs. She's in a land of spirits near a bathhouse, and she has to find work at this bathhouse.
Do we know their spirits right
And-
away? I can't remember. Were they spirits like right away? Do we know their spirits?
I don't know their
probably
spirits.
Yeah.
They do when they hit the road. The mom or dad, I forget, says like all the little houses are like spirit houses, or used to be spirit houses,
I
right?
did
All the
see-
little things.
Yes, I did see that. I knew that. I figured that later. That was. I'm like, well, gee. And we knew that. And when you know the title of the movie,
Yeah. You
Yeah.
kind of have an idea of something
you're like
spirity is happening.
foreshadowing. Not
But
so
yeah, to
subtly.
me, it looked like a bunch of Star
I mean, they all
Wars
look like
bar
ghosts.
customers were showing
Yeah.
up, and
But
some look
we-
like ghosts.
as it started, there was a lot of like, dark, ghosty figures, and then they became weird Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
eccentrics coming into the bathhouse. And then shenanigans,
Thank you.
and we don't know who to trust, but Chihiro gets a job because, of course,
he has to, or else she's.
she made some vow that anyone who ever asks her for a job, she's going to give one. Anyway, there's a lot of. I don't even know really how to explain the plot of this movie
Yeah.
in a concise way.
And so she has to go through all these tasks to somehow get out of what she did, and which is just be there. And apparently, she's got to figure out how to escape
there's
the
a
spirit
lot
land.
of. Yes, and eventually, of course, all things end well.
With crazy
It's-
twists and turns, of
Mm.
course.
So getting back to what Seth talked about, like on all these top 10 lists, like to me again from a craftsmanship perspective, this movie's phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
the backgrounds, especially, every
Yeah.
background is gorgeous.
Yeah,
Mm.
it is
Um,
art. Very, very beautiful.
And some of the animation is like flawless, amazing, great. Others, just from stylistic choice perspective, I'm always like, eh. Like when Chihiro runs, actually both Chihiro and what's the dragon boy's name? I forget.
Oh my gosh! I just.
What?
Dragon Boy.
Haku.
Haku. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Haku. When they run, so Chihiro kind of runs,
Yes.
arms up like this, and Boy kind of runs very stiff. And there's just stuff like that where you go, yeah, it's very anime, it's
Mhm.
Japanese.
Yeah, he for sure.
But then there's other moments where it's like the most genuine naturalistic, nuanced animation
Oh,
it could be, and it's wonderful.
the filth.
But-
Oh, yeah. The wounded
filth,
dragon,
the
like
blood,
when he's a dragon.
the transformation from filth to
all
water.
the
All of
effects
that.
animation, yes. Wonderful.
It-
But there's just also a bunch of weirdness.
It just you felt the grossness. You felt like the sludge, poop-ish. Like it's just so visceral. It was just so visceral.
But yeah, this is, and I may be jumping ahead again, but this is where I probably have to turn in both my snob card and my animator card. I don't love this movie. I think it is so well done, and I think bits of it are great, but it's like nonsense. It's a nonsense movie.
Yeah, some silliness.
Okay, so you ready for this? I love this movie because I felt it was the perfect mix of My Neighbor Totoro and Princess Mononoke. Mononoke, thank you. Because it had the appeal to the young girl, which was what this was based on, like the young girl magazines in Japan. But yet it still had the realness of like realizing things aren't what they seem and there's more to life than just what it seems. And so it was like this, for me, it was like this transition piece. And it was so Japanese too. Like I think about this with our comparison to the Magnificent Seven versus Seven Samurai as well. The ridiculous whaling scenes or whatever else, right? But I thought about all these small little stories within a story. It felt like these were all little stories you would tell your kid.
Yeah, little vignettes.
Little vignettes put together in a whole movie. And it's like the storytelling of you tell it like a circle. You don't do this normal A to Z story. It is you're telling the story in a circle, and you never actually tell them what you're telling them, but by the end you know what they're telling them.
Right.
And it felt the most Asian thing.
Well, even as you're describing it to me, like that seems more appealing to me, that if this was episodic and it was like in one episode we have like what they think's a stink spirit coming and what does everybody do, and then you have a no face episode or something. Like all of that feels like then it can be disjointed. Like it's more the Tales of the Bathhouse kind of situation. But I think to me, I was looking for a more typical, like, what is Chihiro supposed to be learning? You know, like, because when we start, she's like, understandably, like any child would, sad about leaving her friends and the life she knows to go somewhere else. It didn't ever feel like she was incapable of dealing with that. She was just unhappy, right? There wasn't this like, no, I'm going to hate everything forever and I can't handle it. Which would then, this story of like, no, look how strong you are and all this stuff you can overcome, which is kind of the message at the end. Where she's like, I think I can handle it. That was never like the problem she faced at the beginning, was that she couldn't. So it became this weird, she's thrust into this thing because her parents got real hungry off this, spirit food. And then it's like, and she's just kind naturally, which I think was another thing Miyazaki wanted to do, like have a heroine that little girls could look up to. And so she wasn't like flawed. He was just like, yeah, I'm just going to be, kindness will win above all and love will break these curses. But it didn't feel like that was this earned thing from any tribulations at the beginning. It was just like, hey, Chihiro, crap's going to happen to you. And you're going to deal with it until you kind of luck your way through kindness into having a way out. I don't know. It was just so strange to me in that way.
It's so funny.
I liked all the little bits of it. Like, I loved the stink monster scene.
I figured you would like it because it's so not formulaic. In fact, I would argue that's just brilliance because that's life.
Basic stuff.
You grow up.
You're basic.
I know I am basic. I love this.
Can I step in as the not huge anime watcher?
Oh, I'm also not. This is like a third ever.
And also, I watched this with myself being one of 3 generations watching this at the same time.
That's amazing, by the way.
It was.
She watched it with her mom and her son at
Yeah.
the same time.
And they had the most puzzled looks on their faces, but no one could stop watching it.
Exactly right.
No one. Everybody, I kept saying, Mom, I can
it's
stop
compelling.
this and go upstairs if it's just way too weird. And she had that like, what is going to happen? Like, what is going, nope. She stuck through the whole thing. She's like, well, I have to finish this. You know, it drew her in. But the whole time I was watching it, I was comparing it to movies of my youth. Like, I saw The Labyrinth in this movie.
Yes.
So much.
Great reference.
So labyrinthy for me because there were just quirky characters and nothing
like
was
Alice
what
in
it's
Wonderland or something,
yeah,
right?
nothing was what it seemed. There is a lesson to be learned here. You're
Yeah.
kind of a spoiled brat in the beginning and in the end, and then
They
she
drive
wasn't
an
even
Audi,
that bad.
Pat.
She was
They
rightfully
drive an
upset
Audi.
about her circumstances. This is true. She was a
She
little
wasn't buckled. Was the only thing I really saw that was not okay. Her parents were buckled.
It's
She was laying on her side as they're going up this really dangerous, bumpy road.
Yeah,
No parent turned around and was like, Chihiro, get buckled.
that's true. And this is the late 90s or early
No,
2000s. So it would have been a necessary thing.
That was her only real flaw to me, was that she had bad parents.
Yeah. But what I mean,
like her dad.
the story, the plot, it just reminded me very much of The Labyrinth, which was one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And I was just amazed and interested and yeah, it's for sure weird.
So this
For sure.
this is my question, because it sounds like a movie can't be disjointed like a TV show. What can? Because that's what.
Well, no, of course it can. You know, and I think there are versions of that I like, and even, you know, I think part of the stuff I struggle with is how much goes unexplained. And I don't know if that's because a lot of it's obvious based off Japanese cultural references,
Right.
or
We lost some in
or if they're like,
translation.
no, we don't know what this is either, and that's okay.
Mhm.
But like, oh shoot, what's the Quentin Tarantino movie with Bruce Willis? Pulp Fiction. My goodness. So Pulp Fiction is a bunch of random vignettes that kind of merge together at the end. But it's also this weird universe, right? Like that as an example of something that I liked and was compelled by. But I think at the end it had this like, aha, here's how we all connect together. So it's not that I don't like movies that do that, and I like movies that are just strange. I just couldn't hook into a universal fiction of the place, which I think I could in like My Neighbor Totoro. Like the rules are either there's less rules or there's just simpler. But you have this huge universe they built up of all these spirits,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a bathhouse, but I don't really understand what anyone is. Like, are all these people forced to work there? Are all the pigs humans that have wandered in? Like, what are the stakes of this place? There just wasn't this thing that I go, aha, here's why this story needs to be told. It was just like, well, these are cool, weird scenes, and they don't really add up.
How did you saw Princess Mononoke?
I lost you.
We just lost you.
I was whispering that I haven't seen Princess Mononoke.
Oh,
again-
that's so funny.
I haven't either.
Okay, so Princess Mononoke, we watched it in my grad school studying intercultural studies was my grad school, and we watched it because nothing resolves. Like literally, the beginning of the movie, you had go through all this crazy stuff, and at the end of the movie, all the enemies that were enemies are still enemies. The people who are
Yeah,
the
it's
bad
like a
guys.
slice of life kind of thing. In a weird
And
way,
exactly right. And again, the reason why I bring this up is because I feel like this movie is this amazing mix between My Neighbor Totoro and that movie, because you have all these harshness of what it means to be real life, but then you have this coming of age story as well. And so because of that, like, this is how you don't have to be good, bad, or whatever to have to deal with stuff and grow up. And to me, that's the best part of the story is it's not her fault, quote unquote, for anything, but she's still growing up. And that's all this story really is her growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing too, though. Like a 10-year-old, that's such a weird age to me to be like a coming of age story. Like she's 10.
Hey,
like
13, she's got to start having kids, right? Is that? Oh, this is 2000. Not.
I don't think in 2000 Japan.
Oh, that's right.
Maybe in the abandoned.
Yeah, not Japan.
And I think at the end of the day, I didn't need a lot. I didn't need a lot. Really, but like whatever I needed, it just wasn't really there. Like there's stuff like that the movie did. There's the stuff that the movie did where I'm like, I wonder how that's gonna pay off. Oh, it doesn't. Doesn't matter. Like but
what
Granny,
about all the stuff that
bad
did
Granny,
pay off?
like so the proprietor of the bathhouse, right?
Yeah, the bad guy.
The bad Granny.
Yeah.
So she wraps her blanket up, becomes like an owl or an eagle, flies around, and she's got a little look-alike eagle pet.
I think it's a
flies around with her.
crow.
Yeah, more of a crow than an eagle.
I think it's a crow or a raven.
Or a buzzard or something.
Your
She's got big old eyes.
Americanness is coming through here, Pat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Eagle.
so she does this thing, and it's like, aha, she's flying out. Why? What are they doing? And like that wasn't this thing like, oh, they've been searching for this thing or whatever. It doesn't matter. Also, 3 green heads, which I love the 3 green heads.
Mm-hmm.
What are they?
Yeah.
No need.
Do they work there?
Yeah.
Is it
Also,
furniture?
How is the baby get there? Like
The baby's story would be amazing.
where
No,
there's some
the
there are
stories of this could be incredible.
The plot holes are very evident. I agree with like what is going on.
So,
no one's ever going to explain this.
how
We just have
did
to accept it as
Marty
well,
meet
that's
Doc?
just what she does.
How did Marty meet Doc? That's all I gotta say.
Right.
Well, that's one of those things you just go, oh, obviously they've got a past.
Yeah. Just suspend your disbelief, Pat.
But there's usefulness in the relationship you've established. The 3 green heads, I don't think she likes them. I don't think they do anything for her.
Mm-hmm.
They're perfectly happy to play as the baby and eat a bunch of food that apparently they don't get to eat when they're just 3 green heads.
I feel like that's their.
I love
I feel
them.
like that's their part. Like that's what they.
And they go, oh.
Yeah.
I love that.
They're great.
But it was like, this is a thing that doesn't matter
So funny.
in this movie. Other than to be the thing that replaces the baby. They exist to be transformed into the baby.
Yeah.
That's why Yoda exists, buddy. To be transformed to the baby.
But even like to me,
I wish there had been like more about the little guys in the beginning. What are they called? Susawatari. The little like spider
little
things
monsters?
that were like,
Yeah.
we don't need anybody to work here. We've got these guys.
Yeah, those are great. Well, they were so that reminded me of My Neighbor Totoro
And they're just so
monsters.
simple.
Yeah, that's so great.
oh yeah, I love that.
But
And that's like cool. He did use magic to turn soot into these little workers.
yeah.
And they go, burp, burp, burp.
And him,
But these little
I loved
workers,
him.
if someone tries to do their job, they'll
Yeah.
be like, fine, we don't want to do this
Yeah.
anymore.
So good.
I thought he would have.
brilliant
I thought he
scene.
and they should have had more to do with what was going on. But it was just like, I'm just gonna be here at the beginning of this. I'm just the boiler room guy with my little soot
And I'm going to have a ticket when you need it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Can
he's
we-
just a nice guy.
Can we call him
Just to
Doc
help
Ock
along the
though?
way.
Because he was the most Doc Ock looking guy I've ever seen.
He's cool.
That was one of those, getting back to Kraft. When he's drinking out of his pot, which is kind of gnarly, the just drinking straight out of the
He's kind of crude.
spout.
A little crude.
Dope.
Yeah. But like, and he's cranking and all like, he's 6 arms, pretty sure, or whatever, and he's got 2 little vestigial legs now. Love that. Like, and that's like, holy cow, like
Yeah,
animating
good
that
stuff.
would be crazy. There's stuff like that blows me away about this movie. And he's cool, and I love that it's just like, this guy's got 6 arms. I don't even know why he said 6 arms, where he comes from. I don't need that stuff filled in. But what worked about him is I understood his purpose. He's who makes sure which bath goes to which rooms, and he feeds,
He's
the furnace and all that.
Boiler room man.
Yeah. he's got a role at this place that I go, great, I understand. When there's the characters that they introduce or whatever, where it's like, I don't know, like that's where I go, okay, cool. When's this going to pay off? And then it doesn't. And that's very frustrating. I don't know. I loved bits of it. It's one of those things where it all doesn't land for me.
Too many things
in ways
open.
that are
too many open stories. Okay, so here's the
kind of, but even that, like I don't mind. It's just there's so many rules and things that come up where it's like, why does one of the sisters? Why can she turn herself into paper birds? There weren't really birds.
Why did there have to be two anyway? I mean, yeah, one's nice,
and
one's
so
not nice. But then you're gonna get confused and like, well, was that one the right one the whole time? Like,
and was
it left you with some questions.
Was the one the nice one? The one that killed the dragon too?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the other part.
He
too.
like sliced them all up.
Yeah, and then she got rid of the curse.
But he stole a thing from her.
Right, but it's just like there is no like good guy, bad guy in the same feeling other than the hero in a lot of these movies.
Well, and Haku, the other friendly human worker that was kind of mentoring Chihiro.
Let's talk about that.
Don't trust Haku. You're like, why? What's he done
to
her? Like, what is happening here?
Well, because she's the henchman, so he does whatever the bidding was of the lady.
An apprentice. Apparently.
Yes, well,
weirdly named the apprentice.
Henchman's a cooler name, but
yeah,
I guess Donald Trump was the apprentice for a while, so I guess it all makes sense. So
what did you want to talk about?
The love.
Love.
Why
love breaks curses.
Where is the love?
Where? And we're gonna bring up. There we go. There we go. It seemed like the big part of the story of her being escaping, other than her being nice and a good person, was her love for Haku. Who's a river? Ends up being a river
that she already met.
That she already met, almost drowned in.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the spirit of the river that's now been paved over by those dirty humans and industry and capitalism or whatever.
I do like that aspect. But that was the hard one for me. I'm like, oh, cool. We'll see how they connect. And like, oh, he's a river that doesn't exist. So what does love mean? And I'll see you again. How? You're gone. I don't know. So that was only one. That was the one thing. In your the other storylines, I'm totally fine with. I'm like, whatever. Random spirits. That's cool.
I'm not really fine with how she saves her parents. I feel like there was just so little climax to that. Like,
the big test.
The big test.
You knew that's how to go though.
That she wouldn't get it the first time.
You knew she was gonna. Like,
she didn't know who
they're
it
not
was.
Here.
Yeah.
You knew that was the answer, like before we even got up there. Yeah.
Well, and like as they were drawn, those are all the same pigs. Like, there's no way she knew who her parents were.
She felt it.
She felt it.
Where is the love? She said. It's not here.
None of these are my parents.
My parents.
Also,
aren't pigs.
How mad are the movers? Right? How many days did this take place?
Right?
Dude.
They were waiting to get paid.
Oh.
Who, like, did the dad or mom lose whatever jobs they were going to go start when they finished moving?
Yeah.
Did the movers take all their furniture? Like,
she's got at least a couple unexcused absences at her new school. It's not going well.
I'm not sure how long they were actually gone, but it wasn't nothing.
Yeah, that was the crazy part too.
Well, yeah, because it had grown over. Like, there's vines on the car. Yeah.
So I keep thinking about, like,
there are plot holes.
The differences between, like, the American version and the Japanese version. But I also wonder, like, when thinking through, like, the roles of each person, like the age of somebody, the respect you have for certain things, the guest culture, because it's a guest. Like, obviously the spirit's a guest, so you got to treat him like a guest no matter how bad it is. So there's a lot of things implied, and probably the bathhouse culture is probably exemplifies that even more. Like, it's an interesting place that a bathhouse is where they meet as well.
Also, I don't want to work at a bathhouse stuff.
The
Amount of throw up
Oh yeah.
and filth happening all
Well,
over
yeah.
this bathhouse.
The creep, yeah, the huge sludgy guy, and everybody's like, no, I don't want that one.
So bathhouse in China, and I don't know if it's the same in Japan, but I imagine it would be. It's kind of like where the bad stuff went down. Like the two places like bad stuff would go down, like that are like leaders in my organization, were like, hey, be careful of karaoke bars and bathhouses, because that's where a lot of ladies of the night would be. A lot of drugs would be sold there.
Oh.
And so that was kind of like also, but it's also like,
Seemed to be where everything was happening, though.
it's also where everything's happening. And it's not unusual, like in the daytime, for families to go to bathhouses. I've been to a bathhouse in Japan and China, and it's, you know, it's definitely a different culture for sure. But I also had friends who went to bathhouse for unseemly reasons as well. And I didn't know about it until later. I was like, oh, that's not okay. So
Well,
bathhouse culture. Yeah.
Movies like Red Heat and Eastern Promises tell me that bathhouses are where you have naked fights with Russian mafia.
And
Not that this
yeah.
really dirty guy is more than he seems, and just go ahead and give him the bath.
Yeah. No, this is the same. There's some very similar scenes from Princess Mononoke, and so it's there's a lot of things when I watch this movie, I'm like, that almost exact same thing happened. And then the soot gremlins in My Neighbor Totoro were very similar role of like this kind of transition to like the next stage of them living there. So
I would say, rethinking about it, No Face to me has the most compelling storyline.
I love No Face.
Mhm.
I thought that
Oh, for
was
sure.
just
Me too.
super interesting.
for sure.
He just wants to be loved
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and to have people care about him, and he's going to do whatever he can to have that happen. And
Well, and when
Like,
she
he
first
had the big
opens the
arc.
window and leaves
so
it open
sweet.
for him, you're like, oh no, she's going to be in so much trouble. Like,
Mhm.
this is going to be a bad guy. Like, the whole time I was like, oh
which,
dear.
yes,
Which wasn't
both,
wrong. Yeah.
both of those things
Might have
are
eaten a
true.
frog or two, but
But he didn't
Yeah.
digest them. He just ate them.
he was
Just
fine.
stored
Yeah,
them for later.
that's
He was
stole his
quite
voice and
annoying.
things.
Anyway.
But yeah, like that to me was like, oh, that's an interesting like journey of this character who just really needs to acceptance
Mm-hmm.
and love for anyone to see value in them.
Yeah.
And and then by the end, like, the good granny was like, oh, you sew very well or knit very well. And
Yeah.
he was like, oh, I value without needing to like give fake gifts, right? That's like a great movie to me, is the No Face thing.
Mm.
So you're mad
And
that
like he meets Chihiro on his journey in his movie, and she just happens to be the first kind person, right? Like that to me is a better overall story. Like, I don't know, like to me Chihiro didn't need to learn anything.
Well, she
He was
was
already a
passing
good
tests the
Oh
whole
my
time
gosh.
too. You
Literally-
know, she didn't eat the food like a big glutton. She
You're
didn't take the
exactly
money. So when it came down to
Right,
like, you
she's
can
already-
save your parents if you pass this test, and it's like,
She's a
I've been
Mary
knocking them out
Sue.
of the park this whole time.
So Bet,
What do you need me
Chihiro
to
is
do?
a Mary Sue.
You're-
She already has all the superpowers.
You're
She's
mad?
instantly great at all the things she does.
so you're mad that there's too many lessons. You want there to be one lesson
No, I'm
instead
mad.
of the
No,
20
there weren't any lessons for Chihiro.
There were
Chihiro
several.
learned nothing.
She'd already
What did
knew
she
them.
learn?
She learned how to, like, what growing up isn't fair.
How did she learn?
Because because she didn't do anything to get into those situations. But you know what got her out of those situations? Still being a good person. It doesn't
Yeah.
and all of that's a pretty good life lesson.
Maintain.
That's like
Hey,
literally
yeah,
a good
she
lesson.
didn't-
That's
Stay
like the
strong.
whole point of the
The-
film.
Okay, so fair. The lesson
Like,
is
you
don't
literally
let
missed
hardships turn you
The
into a
whole
mean
point
person.
of the story. You literally that's
And
like the
don't
whole
let
thing.
greed change you, and like remembering
Don't
who you are,
let
right? Like
the
that was the whole part
ex-
with the name.
Don't be your
Like,
parents.
don't forget who you are. Yeah, don't be your greedy, money-hungry
Be
parents
better than this
driving
generation who's making
driving
all the
their-
wrong choices.
No,
their dirty German car
The
in
Germans.
Japan.
I did notice that. What was with the Audi? Anyways.
I know. I was wondering, like,
because
did they
there's
get a
consumerism.
sponsor for this?
Yeah. Huh.
That was totally about like Western consumerism.
Yeah.
Like, it's not enough to just drive a Japanese car. You gotta buy an Audi. I
the
get that, but it
Germans.
just wasn't. It wasn't maybe as formulaic, honestly, as I liked for like an animated adventure.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, okay. Like to me, I mean, Chihiro is like just like, yeah, she's a badass. But make her, student council president. Like she'll roll with these punches. She's like cleaned up a river monster or river spirit.
So do I understand though that you're cool with the tangents as long as they finish?
Make the hero's journey something meaningful.
Right. If they're
me,
just complete,
and I
like a
think
couple of
Joseph
branches that are
Campbell-
incomplete are ridiculous.
Joseph Campbell is a snobby, whatever, so-and-so. But I enjoy stories where there is a journey, the hero's journey. The hero did not go on a hero's journey. The hero,
Gosh, you're so Western.
Chihiro was Chihiro. There was an adventure of sorts, and then she was Chihiro again.
No,
she
literally.
Chihiro'd her way out of it.
That's the best thing about this is she proved that she was Chihiro. She didn't know she was Chihiro until this story.
I love parts of that. I think that's the other bit. Like, if it was more, there wasn't to me like temptations, like Pinocchio, right? Like, oh, if you smoke and all that stuff, you're going to turn into a donkey, and this is like a lesson to actually learn, to like not be a bad kid, not to go along. Like, there's this great idea of remembering who you are, right? Like,
Side note, I appreciate that you picked one of the best movies of all time that's in competition. So good job on that one.
Yeah.
You get mad props
Thank
for
you.
that.
But like, when I forget the bad granny's name, but anyway,
Bad
when she
granny.
like took one of her what are Japanese, the kanji? What is that? One of the characters of her name, right? And so she became Sen.
Oh, yes. It was probably the actual characters, yeah.
Yubaba and Zaniba.
Oh, Yubaba, great name.
Yeah, Yubaba. Yubaba is the bad one.
Yeah, Yubaba's the bad one.
Well, I don't know, relatively. Zaniba tried to kill Haku. So I don't know.
Suzanne Plachette. Everyone.
Anyway, I love the idea of her getting her name taken away, and it was
Yeah,
really important to try
I
and
love that.
remember who you are. Like,
love
don't
that.
become this other thing. Great.
Gosh, it all seems
But
like it's so
you
cool.
could have had more obstacles along the way of like Chihiro never seemed tempted by anything. Like, she's like, I don't want gold. I don't eat this food. It wasn't this like, no, I shouldn't. She just didn't want it. And so all these things that could have changed her weren't really tests for her as a character.
How do
And
you
so what did she learn along the way? Not a lot. To me, like, you're good, Chihiro. Like, yeah, you might have been sad, and
it
I
was
guess your parents
still
didn't like that.
hard
You're
for
a
her.
good kid
She
through
still
and
had
through.
to be brave. Every single time she had to be brave. She had
Yeah.
to be brave to ask for the job. She had to be brave to deal with the stigmas. Or she had to be
But
brave.
she basically
to-
was brave the whole time.
No,
Well, yeah,
there was
she
never
didn't
this,
even
like-
when
know
she
that.
told her parents,
Literally-
don't go in that tunnel.
Literally,
It's a bad
but-
idea.
She was not. She wasn't. The whole thing was her being brave enough to do a whole new school. That's the whole plot here, right? That's
But
it.
that wasn't why she was sad at the beginning. She missed out. Like, to me, that wasn't sold. Like, that she was scared of
Jeez
change.
Louise.
Again, like,
I was mostly looking at the scenery in the background going, wow, this is really beautiful.
It was
I
gorgeous.
love that Pat and
I
I
kept-
disagree on all these movies. So
2 for
This
2.
is 2 for 2 now, baby. If there's a camera in front of us, we are ready.
Yeah.
We're Skip Bayless
Yeah, yeah.
and Stephen Smith here. I swear.
Oh, boy.
I hate this.
That's not
That's
not
good.
ideal.
That's not good. We're not, by the way. I love you.
Hey, thank you.
We have to cut
So
that
to me, if in a different version that I probably would like more, if she was too afraid to save her parents initially or something, right? Like, her lack of bravery made something bad happen early on, and so she had to learn to trust in herself and be brave later.
Right. If she'd
Great,
failed
that's
a
an arc.
test, if she'd failed a test at the
She
beginning,
never failed any tests.
she should have failed one.
So this is the
So
problem.
that she'd
and this is
earned
the whole,
another
it's the
chance.
Mary Sue.
Yeah.
So this
She
is
is in critical film criticism,
Yep.
Mary Sues are instantly good at everything they do. Right? It's a big issue people had with new Star Wars girl. I want to say Rey.
Rey.
That's not right.
Right.
Rey, thank you. Rey is a Mary Sue, right? She picks up a lightsaber, she's instantly great at it and does all the things she needs to do.
Yeah.
I actually don't mind that too much. But as a story arc, especially for a coming of age story,
Right.
I didn't see Chihiro really learn anything or gain stuff by meeting the people she did along the way.
Well,
It
maybe
was
her
just-
failure
it was
was
basically like
not wearing the seatbelt in the beginning.
Kindness. Yeah.
Maybe
I guess
her
to me it was
failure
like
is
kindness
kindness.
wins.
it was
No.
subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Honestly, that's my biggest thing. Everything else, quality-wise, it's an amazing piece of art.
so
I just don't love the story.
because she's honestly one of the more messianic characters in movies because she doesn't have the character arc. She's just kind of she's not only the savior for her parents, but she's also the savior for the bathhouse.
Haku.
Haku.
Like she's literally the Christ figure in Japan culture. But that's not historically part. But you know what I'm
Isn't
saying?
it funny how? Well, and I don't know how true that is, Seth. Maybe there's a bunch of movies where little girls are, good omens, but then they also love making little girls the creepiest ghost killer things.
Well, yeah,
ever.
because it's so not on brand. That's why it works so good. Like that's why.
I love a Ringu.
Yeah.
Or the eye
Because
situation.
it's so good because it doesn't. And that's
The
why
Ring.
The Shining. I mean, there's so many things where you're like, oh yeah, that would creep you out.
What's the clicky?
Children of
is
the
that-
Corn?
Is that the
Yeah. Oh,
or the Grudge?
The Grudge.
The
there
Grudge
we
is
go.
the one with the clicky
Oh
throat.
man,
Oh, my
love that
gosh.
one.
That's good stuff.
So
It's good stuff.
So, and that's just because you're going against what you assume is, little girls
Yes.
are, and that's
There's like a purity, and if
Yeah.
it's a corrupted
Exactly
purity,
right.
that's great, creepier. Well, yeah, I guess it's just Chihiro just very much, and I think Miyazaki, his goal was, I want a role model for 10-year-old girls that aren't these, what he was seeing in the magazines.
because the
Yes, Chihiro is a great role model. I don't dispute the goal or the way he accomplished it. I think as a story,
Okay.
it sacrificed things because she
So-
didn't have to learn much.
But the development always happens with the characters around her. This is similar to another story. What was the one with the young kid? You pass on good thing.
The Incredible Hulk.
The good thing happens to you. You pass on the good thing to the next person.
Oh yeah.
You pass it.
Pay it forward.
That's got
forward.
Kevin Spacey
Yeah.
now. We can't talk about that.
I know
anymore.
it
The
sucks.
icy
Too
dead
bad.
people kid.
I know.
But Helen Hunt.
Yeah.
Helen Hunt, you can
Good
talk
old
about
Helen
that.
Hunt.
And you can talk about
Billy Joel Osment.
Caviezel. Jim Caviezel's the drug addict in that one.
Mm.
So yeah, but it's the same thing. Like he never changes, and that's why that movie, like he'll never win the Oscar because his character never changes, right? She's that same character. So I guess the
But
question
how much
is,
did she change the people? She helped the people around her, but did they go, we should be more kind, like
yeah,
the hero?
yeah, literally, and even
And there was a line about that with the water monster, which what they think was a snake monster really was this river spirit, right? Like
Right.
be more like Chihiro and use all these.
Yeah. There was
Yeah.
enough
Okay,
of
she
an
was just
audience over that anyway. Like there's
But it
plenty of
wasn't
viewing
like-
to go, oh, it wasn't that
They
bad.
didn't know why. Like, what did she? They didn't know what she did.
yeah.
Like, what was she role modeling? I don't know.
They all
I don't
did
buy
because
that
like
so much. Stuff.
the aunt, the woman who's in charge of her, I forget the character name. Like she
the
changed
girl, the waitress girl.
the waitress girl. She changed her attitude.
The human.
The other human. The
Was she human? I don't
I don't
understand
know.
that.
The
stuff.
no face realized there's better ways to get what they want, which is love.
Yeah.
even the water dragon, he realized he helped find his
Is that
name.
Lynn? Was her name Lynn?
Lynn, yeah, that's right. And even like, yeah, so she changed everyone who's around her in small ways, and helped her see beyond the sludge. They helped everyone literally take the blinders off their eyes to see that this is actually a different spirit than the water sludge poopy monster.
Yeah,
Water
I
sludge.
guess I put this more in an Alice in Wonderland kind of area where, I mean, Alice was more or less just bouncing around.
Yeah,
Wonderland
Alice isn't quite Chihiro,
but to me, it's like Alice didn't have a lot of agency. I mean, Chihiro had more agency. The appealing thing is she chose to be nice every time.
Every time.
She chose to be kind. She loved the people that were taking care of her. Like, she was just a good person. But again, I think this is my problem with the movie is I wanted to see her learn, and I don't think she did, other than maybe reinforcing her to stay who she was, which again, like, I think that was the intent of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, taking care of the environment and
several other
what else?
There's a lot of sub messages
greed.
in there. Yeah.
Yeah, greed is bad, all that kind of stuff.
Don't buy Audis. They're hard to repair, obviously.
Yeah, don't buy German cars because they'll take you to spirit bathhouses. Anyway, like, yeah,
we've all been there.
It's one of those things. I think it's just, this wasn't for me, even though I can appreciate so much of it. And I love a lot of it.
Oh,
even the bits that are, like, a lot of the stuff there, it's like, this is nonsense. Like, the fact that there's, like, these birds with, like, the leaves, which I feel like is from some other anime, honestly. I love that there's just weird spirits. And I'm like, I don't need to know what they are.
Yeah.
They just are around. That's wonderful.
That's awesome.
I love that there's this weird universe I don't understand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but, you
let's talk about this. Did you do the deep dive into the Snow Queen?
No, I didn't.
The Russian.
I saw something about that.
The Russian animation that inspired a lot of this, and I did watch some of it, and it's nutty, and I didn't get through it all. But I was very surprised because it does seem like, you know, yeah, go ahead.
Isn't some of Narnia based off that?
Yeah, I was gonna say the Snow Queen,
but the Snow Queen's, yeah. So I didn't know how much of this, because Russian literature is not Western literature either. It's more Western than Japanese is, of course, but it's definitely not, Western literature.
On the depressing side.
Yeah, for sure. And I kept thinking about Anna's character arc in Frozen.
or the little match girl.
Yeah, so the little match girl. Like, I was like, Anna's kind of always been Anna.
The mitten.
Because Anna's the savior of Frozen 1 and Frozen 2. Anyways, so there's a lot of things that, like, I was like, okay, so there's a lot of, like, influences here to make it, and then they making it a Japanese version of this. So I do wonder, we have to have our heroes fail to relate with them. Why is that necessary?
Well, they have to overcome something bigger than having having a bad attitude on your way to your new house.
And why can't just hard situations be an obstacle? Like, wars and
they can't.
And I feel like you're saying
because Patrick won't allow it.
I know. That's what I'm hearing.
No, I think I am in a minority here based off everything else in the world saying,
said the 40-year-old
you're an idiot,
male.
Pat. This is like one of the greatest animated movies of all time. Like, sure.
Aesthetically,
I'll
agreed.
go along with
Sure. But story-wise, you don't agree.
Yeah, I think it didn't earn some of the weirdness it had. Like, I needed a stronger thread to pull me through, like, Chihiro's journey in a way that it just didn't quite have. Like, I can connect a bunch of these dots for myself thinking through it, but while I was watching the movie, like to your point, it felt like, oh, this is now the story of when the stink monster came and what happened.
Yep.
And like, so in that way, it is more like this episodic Incredible Hulk or Kung Fu, like where this, this character Chihiro
There are many
runs
stories
into these
happening.
people's problems, and they help them solve their problems.
Right.
But that's not, to me, the right recipe for a movie where I'm following Chihiro exactly. If that makes any sense at all.
It does. It is interesting. I kind of because you also like movies that don't have like happy endings and don't have your classic story arcs too. So that's why I'm a little surprised.
Yeah. I think there is some just cultural stuff that doesn't click for me. I, unlike yourself, Seth, haven't lived abroad. And so I think there's just some things where I'm looking for a very traditional
Not so many like loose ends to the tangents.
Yeah, and like you can put a ton of weird stuff that doesn't close up nicely on a structure that is pretty traditional, and I'll be like, great, that worked.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't need every question answered, but I need to feel like I understand enough of the universe or the character to be like, great, I see why.
I see why
this story was told and why I'm watching it.
Yeah,
for sure. It does make you kind of wish there was a book that was written before it that does dive deeper into all the characters, kind of like like Wizard of Oz. Like, and when you watch Wizard of Oz, you there's a lot that's missing, and when you read the book to Wizard of Oz, you're like, oh, and
all these lands existed.
Oh my gosh! Imagine the world that could come from this movie alone. It'd be insane.
Oh yeah, the world building is amazing, and like following any of those spirits back to wherever they came from and what got them to where they were, amazing.
Yeah, how all of them came to this place and where they came from. Like, there's probably so many interesting. How did that baby get there?
The baby's
Where's the father of this baby?
Maybe that's the three heads.
How come the baby is so big and only her head is so big? What's going on?
I thought a lot
about
the
greenheads were taking care of the baby as the fly version.
And that baby is manipulative for a baby.
Smart baby. I kept thinking about Doctor Who. I'm like, this is some Doctor Who big head stuff. Oh, this is amazing.
I mean, the baby had a good arc. I think, and to your point, Seth, I think Chihiro did give all these other characters arcs.
Yeah.
That I wish Chihiro also had. And it didn't have to be a big one. It just was like,
she didn't have a lot of
what did she realize in herself based off her interactions with all these other characters? Mm-hmm. And I feel like it wasn't really anything because she stayed the same sweet, kind, brave girl she was from start to finish.
Wait till she's 17.
Well, and some of the
then
good
she'll
things.
Have an arc. When she's 17, she'll have that arc.
Many of the good things she did were just happy accidents. I mean, she was just kind of stumbling through going, oh, look at you. You seem cold. I'm going to open the window for you to come in. And, oh, this guy just needs a really good bath. So we need the extra tickets to get him a real good scrubbing. Not because I see something in him and there's a river.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Right. She's just stumbling upon these lessons, not earning the new truths or becoming a better person. Or
I don't know that she learned any of the lessons, right? Like she just was like,
no, she's stumbling. She's just stumbling into these happy, like, oh, maybe other people were meant to learn, not her.
Do you hate the Wizard of Oz, Pat?
No, because actually have a really wonderful graphic novel of Wizard of Oz.
What's Dorothy learn?
Like a lot. No, I didn't just watch the Wizard of Oz. Don't make me think
no place
things.
like
she
home.
Doesn't learn anything. She does.
It's true. She just happens to free the Munchkins because her house fell on someone.
Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz. It's all the same thing. But that's my question of why the hate for this movie when literally some of the best movies of all time
do
the
the
main
same.
character do the exact same thing.
Well, but Wizard of Oz is one of my favorite movies of all time. I much prefer like Wicked, which tells an expanded perspective of the Wicked Witch of the West.
Which,
and
if
how
you
that's,
read
like,
the
this
book, you
actual
see
art.
where all these characters come from. You're like, oh.
Yeah, like that is more interesting to me than
Poppy's
girl
Fields.
who just. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know. I am looking for a thing that is kind of there, but it's not all the way there for me.
Pat's having some
And then
crisis
because
moments
of
here.
that, I'm looking to get that in some of these threads that aren't actually picked up, which I probably wouldn't care about in the same way if the hero's story was more grounded or something, or
Pat,
solid.
what do you
Where I could
really
be like, great.
What do you really need in life?
I agree with
What do you
some of
really
what
need?
Pat says. And I feel like for me it was an 85% complete movie for me. There was so much of the artistic stuff that I thought, oh, of course this is one of the best movies. And some of the storylines were really cool and the characters were great, most of them. But there's enough plot holes in it for me that I'm like, but why? Like maybe they could have either dropped that one or focused more on like giving you a little more of this other one. But I still really thought it was great. I sat there and my mother sat there through the whole movie. We all had to see what happened. It drew us in.
I don't know if she was happy about it though.
Well, she had a face. I wish I would have taken a picture of it.
Oh, I'm telling you, I would like to do
was great.
videos with your mom.
And Finn had a similar face, but I was like, is it so weird for you? And he's like, no, but he just kept staring at it like, I don't know how to react or what to say, but I'm still watching this. It's really sucking everyone in. I don't know.
Well, and I think the other thing that was lacking a little bit was to your point, Mariah, like Chihiro just stumbled through everything. It wasn't like, Chihiro, if you do this, then you can free your parents. Really. It was just like the next thing to do is get a job.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing to do is do your job. And the next thing to do is try and help Haku. And the next thing, like, it just felt like stumbling through. And then by the end, what are you guys doing?
There's a stink bug over here on one of my lights.
Oh, Mariah does not
Flying
like it.
insect!
This is great.
You don't like flying insects?
For all you listeners, I saw.
Off of me.
Yeah, no, it was in your hair for sure.
Shut your face. I gotta go. We're
Well,
cutting it short.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be watching it the whole
It's a
time.
stink bug. It's not like it's like a real bug. Those don't do anything to anybody.
No, that's a little character
It has wings.
that you're gonna learn from.
Yeah. No. The character's gonna learn from me because I'm the main character.
Oh,
I
you're
don't have
Chihiro.
Obs.
Totally.
No, I'm the stink. I'm the stink demon. Comes in all covered in poo.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, there was
Chihiro,
a
if it
person
was-
in here.
Yeah, if it was
The
Chihiro,
trombone
you
coming
have
out
to
of
do
him.
X, Y,
Oh,
Z.
so good.
Oh, I can't even keep arguing it.
Yeah,
I just
know.
needed more specific.
It wasn't
hard.
enough for you.
Pat,
it wasn't
you're
complete.
needy, buddy. We get it. You're needy.
I
and
gave it a
you-
B
But what-
plus.
To B plus.
What's very troubling
best
is-
animated movie ever?
as a film
Snob.
wannabe film snob
Yeah.
and an animator, it's very hard for me to have these opinions.
Yeah, no, I'm offended by him. No, I think it's very natural because these aren't. They don't feel nice for Western audience. They shouldn't feel nice. Like that's.
But people love this movie.
They do.
I do feel like I'm on. This isn't one of the more, nuanced or
So many people are
out there
split over
versions.
this. You're just
no. It's like it is universally.
But it's not
loved.
Fast and the Furious 5. If you know what I mean.
yeah.
No, I think Furious 5 was still. Maybe that was the first one that was like, "Hey, you guys have figured out the recipe," which
Yeah,
is more is more.
exactly right. No, but
I forget if that was 5 or 6. But
it's still in the snob community that likes Spirited Away.
I find it
Because-
amazing that you watch enough Fast and the Furious to find out that people were onto them in their plot.
Hey, you know what?
it clicked.
It
When
had
clicked,
The
it
Rock,
clicked.
Vin Diesel. They hated each other and they're in a movie together. It's got all
watched-
this
When
good
they-
stuff.
I watched one.
I don't
when
think
they
I've watched
moved
any
the-
all the way through.
You guys are missing out on several.
I also haven't watched any John Wick, and I know I'm probably regretting that.
You know,
Also missing out on that.
so John Wick makes me wish there was an Academy Award for best stunt. Best stunts. Because John
be.
Wick is directed by a former stuntman who did the stunts for The Matrix.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And so when I learned that, it changed the way I looked at John Wick. Because all those...
Oh, it's all setups for stuff.
Oh, it's been described...
What would be a cool place to have a fight scene? Yeah.
It's been described as porn for stuntmen because the stunts are so good. They're like legit fights. They feel right. The timing's right. The hits are right.
I'm not sold on this yet.
No, but for me, it was enough to
Also,
be like...
Keanu Reeves
Oh, he still is great.
is a sweetheart of a human.
You
Oh,
love him.
yeah.
And
Love
he works
him.
super hard on these
And
movies.
he does his own stunts.
It's great.
Yeah.
He's great. But
He's
you
a
gotta
delight.
be
Mm-hmm.
watching a lot of people get their head blown open.
Yeah, but not like
back
Expendables
to-
blown in. It's just like
No.
good.
It's not
better
like
than that.
gory.
Yeah, no.
But
So let's
yeah.
talk about what movies. Let's talk about our top animated movies of all time list. Because now that we've seen this, with the animated movies we've already seen, I know Pat, I didn't give you any warning for this, so this is just
Animated.
off the spur.
So
no.
And no offense, because this makes no difference on my life, but it does. It's for Pat. This is like a stressful question.
It doesn't have to go on your resume.
No, it doesn't have to go to your resume, but we will judge you forever and ever
Anything I
based
say.
on your statements. So the classic. Let's pull up a list of the top animated movies of all time because it's always Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Pinocchio's on the list. You got Spirited Away, which we didn't watch, which I'm kind of wishing we would because I think that would be a fun. I think we'd
We
all.
did watch Spirited Away.
Sorry,
We
we
watched
didn't watch
Spirited Away.
Where are
Fireflies. We didn't watch.
I really want to watch this.
We'll watch
Bring
that.
the darkness.
I know because it is dark apparently.
Let's do it.
That's a war one, right?
Yeah, the other one, some of them are like because they're like Toy Story 1 is on a lot of people's lists, which is hard because the other Toy Stories are better.
It really shouldn't be.
Yeah, the other
Yes.
ones are like I like all the other Toy Stories.
It's
usually
fair because
better.
it's the first.
Exactly right, and it changed the way we looked at animated movies. So I'm gonna pull up. Which one you pull up, Mariah?
Parades
Okay,
ranked the best 51 of
I'm
all
gonna pull up the
time.
highest grossing, and then I'm gonna pull up Rotten Tomatoes.
Not fan of when they go from the worst to the best.
Yeah, I don't like.
gonna just
I'm gonna
go
pull
down.
over. Rolling Stones is the same crap. Oh, Wallace and Gromit's on the list. Heck yeah, I love that movie.
I love Wallace and Gromit.
I do too.
First of the Were-Rabbit.
Oh, so good. It's so.
It is amazing.
It's so freaking good. Okay, so I got the
that might
top.
be on my.
Oh my
10.
gosh, this
Yeah,
movie!
probably. I'll throw it
I
on there.
They have
love these
Snow White
movies.
as number 1.
Okay, Rolling Stone does not. They have Snow
Pinocchio,
White as
number
number
2.
4.
Spirited Away, number 3.
Spirited Away is
Yeah.
number 2 on Rolling Stone. This one I've never seen before. Fantasia is number 3. Fantasia's been on a lot of top lists. It's kind of
You've never seen Fantasia?
That's crazy because no one liked Fantasia when it came out.
no one liked Fantasia 2000.
No.
I don't think people like Fantasia.
You're right. They didn't like it as
They
much.
also didn't like Fantasia 2000.
Well, Fantasia, the original one, did get great reviews, but no.
It bothers
watchers
me
like
that
it.
you've never seen it.
No, I've seen it.
Oh,
didn't
I
say
thought
I've
you
seen
just said I haven't seen
it.
it.
I don't think I said that.
What's the Spirit Mountain one is the best, clearly, of Fantasia. It's also some pretty racist stuff in the first Fantasia.
Yeah,
so-
that's fair. So
a
the other
little-
one,
little
one
awkward.
is Fantastic Mr. Fox, which I don't know if it should be on the list because it's something.
No.
Yeah.
I love Wes Anderson. No.
Yeah, I love that movie though, but it shouldn't be. I
I mean,
think it
it's
should be number
great,
one.
but it's.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so
No.
let's talk about Art Wally's freaking top 10. I've never seen The Iron Giant, which is so embarrassing to say.
You need to see Iron Giant.
I
Yeah,
That is a
know.
great
you
movie.
should.
Nightmare Before Christmas made top 10 on the Rolling Stone list.
Oh, it's Finn's top 3, I think.
Street of the Crocodiles. Haven't seen that.
I have not.
World
What
of
was that?
Tomorrow. Haven't seen that one either. What's Opera Doc? What is this movie? What? Inside Out? Oh,
What's
Inside
Opera
Out was
Doc?
great.
That's a Bugs Bunny,
Oh.
which is a great Bugs Bunny.
My Neighbor Totoro's number 13.
Into the Spider-Verse made this
Steamboat
list.
Willie.
That is a great movie.
That is what, honestly, that's one of my favorite of
I
all
love
time.
it. It's good.
Chicken Run was number 16 over, and then Little Mermaid 16.
Akira made this list, and I have not watched that.
I haven't seen Akira either. Pinocchio always makes it up there. The Lego movie, Toy Story 95, Yellow Submarine. This Rolling Stone's a little.
That's a weird one.
Lucy.
That's a weird list.
South Park's on there.
Wolf Walkers? What is
Bambi.
Wolf Walkers?
Wolfwalkers is great.
Is it? It's number 32.
I
Celtic
love that.
inspired fantasy imagery.
Yes.
Why have I
Oh.
not
So
seen this?
Here's one that
That
should be up
animation
there.
studio, they also did Secret of the Kells, which is also great.
Oh.
You would like those.
Okay.
Mariah. You should watch those with Finn. They're
Okay.
both wonderful.
Okay.
Okay.
What about,
The first one they did,
what about Dottie? But dude, you hook me up with me and my daughter? Come on.
well, you're not as Irish obsessed, maybe, as my family.
I mean, my last name's more Irish than your last name. No offense.
That's true.
None taken. Well, yeah, and Song of the Sea. So actually, Song of the Sea and Wolfwalkers are like
You heard it here first, Pat.
wonderful.
Song
Secret
of-
of the Kells, that was a little weirder.
Song of the South is
What?
Pat's favorite movie.
Song of the Sea.
Also,
Son of
Secret of
Sea,
Rowan Inish.
Oh, Jamie, it's me, your sister Fiona.
Don't you know me?
We
Yeah,
should talk about The
Song of the
Incredibles too, by the
Sea
way.
Has I think got nominated for Best Original Song too, which is a gorgeous song. Anyway, Cartoon
Gorgeous.
Saloon.
Holy cow! I don't know animated
Amazing
films like I thought I
movies.
did. Ooh, Secret of Nim made the top 50.
Oh, love that movie.
This is great. Grave of the Fireflies, 37 on this list. That's low.
there's too many.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not too many. They're
my
all
gosh.
wonderful, but like
Yeah.
I can't actually.
No, I suppose you can't. So I will do mine because my opinions don't matter like past do. Let's just be honest right now. So I have to, like, snobby wise, I'm going to go with things. Beauty and the Beast isn't even on the list. What's up with that,
it's on
Pat?
it's on the parade list.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Which list are you on?
I'm on parade.
And I'm on Rolling Stone. So
I don't think Rolling Stone has any business ranking animated movies.
that's fair.
I mean, you know,
Not that I do
It's all
either.
subjective,
But I'm
guys.
about to do it right now.
No offense, Rolling
No
Stone.
offense, Rolling Stone, but you can barely.
Please sponsor us if you want to.
Barely do rock music. So I always go to Disney has to be on the list because without Disney you can't. So like I don't know what.
which Disney?
So do you go start with Steamboat Willie? Do you start with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or do you start with Little Mermaid or Lion King? Because those to me are the ones that are the most important. You have Steamboat
I think you
Willie.
pick Lion King.
Lion King seems like the most complete of that era of Disney films. It seems to be the most.
That one was like,
Hamlet.
to me, just that opening shot of Lion King
Oh my
with
god.
the sun coming up.
Yeah.
I
You're like,
felt that
whoa.
way about
I'm in for this.
Sleeping Beauty
Yeah.
from the originals.
Really?
Like I liked it more than Snow White. I liked it more than
Snow White's disturbing.
Yeah, but it's also got the best anime. It also changed everything though.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
There's
And it's
the
also
difference between valuing. I think to me that's why
1926.
you'd value Toy Story
1995.
as high as you would, because it's like this huge game changing thing, which
Yeah.
is what Snow White was. But if you think about like what you enjoyed the most or what's held up the best way, like Snow White's weird.
Whistle
Yeah.
While You
You know?
Work still plays in my car every week.
Oh yeah.
Every week.
Again,
folks.
like there's amazing stuff. Should we be?
I also felt like
kissing,
Up was a
comatose
game
women?
changer for me too. Just in
Oh.
the story, had the
Well,
emotion, the
Pixar
appeal to
kills
all
it.
ages.
Because we still talk like in my house, like the emotions of I can't even think of the movie. where
Inside Out.
Inside Out, like it's just so it's a great way to talk to kids. Like
Yeah.
now I can talk about emotions with my kids thanks to Pixar.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Up has like the best 10
that
minutes.
intro.
I don't even know if it's that long.
Intro. No, it's like 5. It's the best
Yeah.
intro of any movie ever.
It's so good.
It
so
wrecks me like Marley and Me wrecks me every single time.
Nice.
Come on. Every time.
So Wally is the surprise number 6 on this list. You know what Wally does to me?
Wally's very charming.
You know what Wally does to me? Makes me want to work out. That's all Wally does for me.
Oh.
Every time I get that, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, do I look like that? Am I going to look like that?
Looking up, I have a bunch of like making of animated movie things.
Oh, by the way, for the listeners who don't know this, every year, if we have like a cousin Christmas, if you got Pat's name, all you had to do was buy the behind-the-scenes animated version of whatever Pixar movie came out.
But
or
at
Disney
this
movie.
point, you have to check his wish list because
he has them all.
them.
He has almost all of them.
Just get the newest.
I'm running out of space.
Yeah,
So
so
I stopped making that
what-
a standard thing.
What? Oh my gosh, this is Pat. I can't believe I'm going down this. But what got you into animation in the first place?
Oh, joy in my heart.
I guess Mariah and I have no idea what that is. So tell us more about this.
Well, I think, as a
Drawings.
not a genuine latchkey kid, but a kid who was not deprived of television as a youngster, animation was like my life. When I wasn't like at school or doing sports or whatever, it was like, I'm going to watch a bunch of cartoons. And at a certain point, it became like, oh, is that like, what do people do for work? I guess some people draw and animate. And so it became this like, how do I keep doing art and animation in my life? And it's like, oh, people get paid to do that. Mariah, our co-host,
Yes, quite artistic actually.
helped show me how to draw like Ninja Turtles. And that was kind of the start of the whole thing. Like, oh, okay, you can do what's on TV. Like, and then that just kind of kept me going on the journey until I had to figure out a job and goes on.
So really, you should be giving a portion of your paycheck to Mariah every month. Is that what I hear?
I should, but I will not.
A portion of the last month's proceeds go to me.
No, because what people don't know is, although Pat gets paid for it, Mariah is actually quite artistic in her own right, and always has been.
Yes.
As the guy who gets
From time to time.
paid to create film, I am probably the least artistic at this threesome right now. And it's been kind of
Traditional,
cool. Traditional, yes, for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't do videos though.
No, video is a different creature for sure. But it really isn't. Like, end of the day, like you're making things that aren't real.
You're making
Yeah,
a
but
boring
yet-
story beautiful
yeah,
and
for
selling
sure.
it
And
to
yet
so
they
many
can-
people.
Make them the most real things,
Yeah, exactly right.
that can be.
And then the conversation is what is real and what are we selling reality here beyond reality, or are we selling, So no, I just thought that was
It's the stuff dreams are made
it's
of.
the stuff dreams are made of. Because I am here because this is like my third section of my life. This is like my midlife crisis job. So it's
This is I live in the United States.
I live in America. I guess I got to
have
do something. But Pat
Order.
literally had he picked some tiny university that we never heard of that was like, how dumb is this guy? And you actually chose to animate. And so that was, yeah, very cool. Hey guys, hey kids, you too can do your dreams for work. But just know sometimes it's
Big freaking books like The
that's
Illusion of Life.
great. That's
Ooh.
great. Yeah, you gotta tell us your top Disney movies, Pat. At least you gotta give us something.
Disney or Disney Pixar?
Disney
before Pixar.
I mean, definitely Lion King.
Number one.
Like that one, I remember that was like a in theater feeling like pretty blown away by movies experience, and just the craftsmanship of that is pretty great. And it's got banging songs. I had
Dude,
the tape of
songs
that.
kill.
I'd listen on our tape deck at home.
I had the CD because I was fancy.
Ooh.
Fancy.
I do really like 101 Dalmatians.
Wow, didn't see that coming.
That was in the weird kind of Xerox phase,
Yeah.
so it wasn't like as cleaned up stylistically, but it was like that was kind of cool, like
Okay.
edgy, cheap Disney. I don't know how to describe it, but it was
Yeah.
great animation. And who doesn't like dogs?
Cruella DeVille.
Um,
Cruella DeVille doesn't like dogs.
Seth doesn't
I
like
don't
dogs.
like dogs.
yes, right.
Yeah, we want to get into an argument.
Villains
Let's talk
don't like
I like
dogs.
dogs fine.
love of animals
At a distance.
versus
Uh,
not.
And then The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh was
Ooh.
a weekly watch at my grandmother's house.
Oh
So,
yeah,
Huh.
many
that one
many
always-
times.
Get out of here.
If
Hat
we weren't
Bumps and
watching the
Woozles.
anime version of Little Women, which we sure did.
What?
Yeah,
That's a thing?
early '80s, late
Get outta
'70s.
here. Huh.
Oh, it was good. I
Huh.
think.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it
I
again.
think.
Yeah, who knows?
There was limited choices.
That's true. So good.
Laserdisc. Which 5 laser discs would you?
Oh my gosh.
pick
You
from.
guys' Laserdisc collection was insane.
But here's the deal. I would say, as much as I've given this movie a hard time, it is critical to your snobbery to watch it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
can have
Must
the
watch.
same level of debate with your other snobby friends about its value in animated and just movie history. I think that's the other thing that was amazing about it,
Yeah.
is it felt like a crossover film in terms of people respecting animation as a medium, which is a big talking